Hello and welcome to the series on preparing for the last days. And this message, preparing for calamities, is probably the one that a lot of people have wanted to get to right away and maybe jump the line of the other messages to get here, but that would be woolly headed at the very least, because this preparing for calamities, all of us have a little bit of a sense about that because I'd say all, but many of us live in regions of the world where there's some kind of natural disaster or some kind of periodic problem that comes along that you have to prepare for. So that gives you a little bit of an edge in how to prepare. In my region, it's hurricanes, and you'd have to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not know that every year there's likely to be a hurricane or a tropical storm at least coming nearby, and that you might have to get prepared. And here are the things that other people do. So there's common sense comes to our rescue in this category. We need all of the other lessons, all of the other things. This is what's coming our way is off the chart. It's going to require thinking outside the box, and it's going to require trusting the Lord and living with him and for him at a level many of us haven't done before. And if we don't get those pieces right, then just being a prepper and preparing for calamities, that's not going to get you through. That is not going to do it. That would be good enough in ordinary times, but it's not going to be good enough in the extraordinary times that will not only have political collapse or economic collapse and natural disasters, but also supernatural events and weirdness and strangeness and evil such as the world has never seen before. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just saying, you're not going to be able to get by just with common sense. That being said, common sense is essential. Now let's hear what Jesus has to say. This is a promise of Scripture that probably isn't on anybody's refrigerator, but here's what he says in Matthew 24, verse 7 to 8. And there will be, it's like I'm promising you, there will be famines and pestilences, that's plagues, and outbreaks of disease, and earthquakes in different places. All of these are the beginnings of sorrows. They're not the fulfillment of the sorrows, and they're not yet the tribulation. That's what's, I believe, already taking place around us. I personally believe that we're in that period of the birth pains that Jesus is describing, that already natural calamities are starting to increase worldwide. Check my webpage at THELASTDAYS.INFO. For this, and you'll see there's been an escalation of natural calamities, there's been an escalation of wars, and the things that Jesus said would be a part of the last days birth pains are already happening around us. Wake up and smell the cordite or whatever you have to smell. All right, now, with that being said, then we need to think inside the box in terms of preparing for natural disasters on maybe a little bit worse scale than we've ordinarily had around us. And for that, you need common sense. For that, you can go to the web and you can put in the question, how do you prepare for an earthquake if you're in an earthquake region? Or how do you prepare for a hurricane if you're in a hurricane region? And there are plenty of other people who've walked it before you, who have excellent advice to give you. That's why I'm not putting things like that into this article. I'm just giving you a heads up and showing you a path to follow. It's the same path I've been following. And you put in that to the web, and it will tell you things that you need to do, like a food and water supply. You need first aid, flashlights, batteries, hand crank or power generator, gas power generator. You might be thinking about all of these things. And I would say as a practical matter, you think about the kind of disasters, natural disasters that are typical to your regions. You prepare for them for a 2 or 3 day episode, or you prepare for them for a 2 to 3 week episode. And then you start thinking outside the box. Once you've made those preparations, you start thinking outside the box. Well, we don't have earthquakes around here usually, but there is a fault line running down the East Coast, and they could happen here. So how do we prepare for that? Well, we haven't had an economic collapse serious economic collapse since the Great Depression, but it's probably coming. How do you prepare for that? Okay, there might be a political disaster and real civil chaos and unrest. How do you prepare for that? Different kinds of preparation. And so you can go on the web again and search these things out. There are plenty of people looking into this, but the first stage is think inside the box, the things that are typical to your area. Think about getting through something out of your own resources stored up around your home for 2 or 3 day period without electricity or without supplies at the store. Then try to expand that to cover 2 to 3 weeks. And then if you can afford it and you've got the space, try to expand it to cover 2 to 3 months. At the same time, think outside the box to other things that could happen and what can you do to prepare for them. And there are many and good suggestions on the web, but they won't all apply to you, so you need prayer. And so this is always the first step in preparing, is get heavily into prayer. Lord, show me what to do. Help me to have some understanding here. Do I need to do this? Sift this for me. Bring across before my eyes the articles I might need to read, or the videos I may need to watch, or the friends I may need to be talking to about this. Help me get the ideas from you, because you're going to need more than just common sense taking you through this. You're going to be needing the divine guidance. That's why I have a section on that. You're going to need strong fellowship with other Christians. That's why I've got a bit on that too. These are all very important. And then finally, prepare for the worst and then some. Once you think about going through 1 or 2 or 3 days, and then 2 or 3 weeks, you've got to think 2 or 3 months. But the tribulation is going to cover 2 or 3 years. And I don't know how to get to that place, but I'm not at quite beyond the 2 to 3 months yet. But you start preparing. You start where you're at. The Lord will meet you where you're at. He'll get you marvelously beyond where you're at if you just get started where you're at, looking around, listening, bringing in the supplies as you can afford them, as you can make room for them to store them up. And one element of being prepared could be having a place to go if you have to clear out of, if you're in a city, you might have to clear out of the city for a season. You might have to clear out permanently. In that case, you may need to have a backpack filled already with things that you could take with you. People call that a go bag. So I'm just giving you some ideas, things to sift. Can't tell you what the specific disasters or calamities will be that come to your area. Think inside the box first and prepare for those. Then think outside the box, and with God's help, try to get the creative ideas for how to prepare for them. Meanwhile, network with your friends, stay in prayer. The best ideas get dropped in out of the blue, especially when we're trusting the Lord and walking on the path he wants us on. And he's the one that's going to want to guide us through this. We don't have to talk him into this. He wants to guide us. He loves guiding us all the time, but he especially is going to be on point for guiding us through the difficult times that are coming. We can be sure he's not going to leave us or forsake us. He's not going to leave us without a hope. He's not going to leave us without a path and a plan that we can follow if we can keep the fear out, the humility in, stay in strong fellowship with others, maybe even go to fasting and prayer for the light to dawn. All of these things that have been in the series so far are going to be necessary coming up. Let's finish up with a quote I began with. It's Proverbs 22, verse 3. The prudent sees danger and hides himself. He takes refuge. But the simple go on and suffer for it. They suffer the consequences of not being prepared. My friends, prepare for the calamities, but prepare most of all by wanting to live for the Lord, to learn how to listen to him step by step. So even in preparing for the calamities, you're not running around in a panic, just trying to work it out of your understanding, but you're listening to get ideas from him that are sensible, peaceable, and seem to be moving you in the right direction. Now, God bless you. There's more to being prepared. I may come up with more videos in the future, but I'm glad you've been watching the series so far, and I hope to see you on the other side of this, and we can share some stories about how great the Lord has been for getting us through it. God bless you. So long.